Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world.
It is really good to be here today. And we are tackling a system that is, well, it's arguably the most influential, yet maybe the most misunderstood engine of our modern lives, the online media economy.
Yeah, I am genuinely excited and honestly a little bit terrified about this one. We're doing a deep dive into a book that feels like it should come with a warning label. We are looking at, trust me, I'm lying, Confessions of a Media Manipulator by Ryan Holiday.
It's a very polarizing book, and rightfully so, I think.
Right, and I want to set the stage immediately here, because I think most people, myself included, we have a very specific way of looking at fake news or clickbait. We tend to look at it as a moral failing, right? Like, oh, that journalist is lazy, or that website is biased, or people are just gullible. We really want to find a bad guy.
Exactly. We personalize it. We look for the bad apple because, well, that's just how we process the world. If something is broken, we assume someone broke it on purpose.
But the deep dive we're doing today flips that entirely on its head. The central thesis here, and it is a really heavy one, is that the chaos we see online, the misinformation, the outrage, the sheer triviality of it all, it isn't a glitch. It's the product.
Precisely. We aren't looking at fake news as some sort of accident. We are looking at it as the inevitable economic output of a specific system, a system designed to prioritize velocity over accuracy. I mean, if you design a car to go 300 miles an hour, but you don't give it brakes, you can't really blame the driver when it crashes. You have to look at the design.
And our guide into this underworld is a pretty fascinating character. Because Ryan Holiday isn't an investigative journalist looking in from the outside with a notepad. He explicitly identifies as a media manipulator.
Yeah, he was the director of marketing for American Apparel during their most provocative era, the era of those really scandalous ads. He founded Brass Check, advising multimillionaire authors and brands. His job, by his own admission right there in the text, was to lie to the media so they can lie to you.
That is such a bold opener for a book. I am paid to deceive. It almost feels like a supervillain monologue.
It does, doesn't it? But it gives him a really unique credibility. He isn't just theorizing about how the machine works. He is showing us the blueprints because he actually helped build the monster. And his goal with this book, and really the goal of our discussion today for you listening, is to reverse engineer that monster.
Right.
To understand the media economy not as a public service, but as a ruthless, feedback-driven attention marketplace.
So let's unpack this. Because I think we all have this nostalgic idea of what news is supposed to be in the Walter Cronkite era. Trust, verification, civic duty. The idea that the news exists primarily to inform us.
That was what we call the subscription model.
Yeah.
And it is crucial to understand why that model produced completely different content than what we have today.
Right. Explain that contrast for us, because Holiday makes a big deal about the shift from the old model to the new model. It's not just about paper versus screens, is it?
No, it's about the fundamental transaction. In the old world, the subscription model, a newspaper had a long-term relationship with you. You paid a monthly fee. The newspaper landed on your doorstep every morning with a thud.
I do miss that thud sometimes.
The economics of that thud are important, though. Their economic incentive was to build trust over time so you wouldn't cancel. If they lied to you, or if they got a major story completely wrong, they damaged the relationship, you might cancel your subscription. In that model, trust was the asset. Trust was the actual thing they were selling.
So accuracy was literally profitable.
Accuracy was a retention strategy, yes.
And today?
Today, we have the one-off model. Most journalism is consumed a la carte. You see a link on Twitter, Google News, or Facebook. You click it, you read it, or more likely, you skim the headline and maybe the first paragraph, and then you leave. There is no marriage. There is only a series of one-night stands.
Which means every single article has to fight for its own survival.
Exactly. In the current system, every single piece of content must sell itself instantly on social media or search engines. There is no loyalty, there is only impulse. And that shift in economics changes everything about how the content is created.
It defines the entire system. Holiday says the business model rests on the difference between perception and reality. It pretends to be journalism. It wears the clothes of journalism, uses the fonts of journalism, but it completely lacks the standards, things like verification or time, because the economics simply do not support them.
If we want to understand this crisis in perception, we have to follow the money. We have to look at the raw economics of the web.
Okay, let's get into the math, because I think people assume that big news sites are swimming in cash.
Yeah.
But the first section of our notes here is about the design of the machine. And it starts with a very simple, very brutal equation.
Traffic equals money. Specifically, advertisement times traffic equals revenue.
The impression model.
Right. Most online publishers are paid by the impression, or CPM, cost per mil, which is Latin for thousand. That means advertisers pay a certain amount for every 1,000 people who see their ad.
And that number, the amount they actually pay, has been dropping for years, hasn't it?
It has plummeted because there is infinite inventory on the internet. So to make a sustainable amount of money, you don't need 1,000 readers. You don't need 10,000. You need millions. You need tens of millions of eyeballs just to keep the lights on.
And this creates a terrifying quota pressure for writers. The source material uses the specific example of Henry Blodgett, the founder of Business Insider. And the math here really blew my mind. It makes you realize why the internet feels so frantic all the time.
It's a very stark calculation. Blodgett explained that for a writer to be worth hiring, they needed to generate 3 times their salary in page views.
Okay, let's actually do the math on that. Let's make this real for you listening. If you're a young journalist, maybe you just got out of journalism school, and you're making, say, $60,000 a year, which is a decent but not amazing starting salary in a city like New York. To justify your existence, what does that look like in traffic?
Well, to justify that $60,000, you need to bring in $180,000 worth of revenue. Based on average ad rates, that means you need to produce upward of 1.8 million page views a month. Every single month.
1.8 million views a month. Let's just pause on that. That isn't just a viral hit once a year. That is a viral hit every single day.
Think about what that requires. If you are doing deep investigative reporting, checking facts, calling sources, waiting for verification, digging through court documents, you might write 1 great story a week, maybe 2 if you're fast.
And a story about, say, corruption in the city council zoning board, that's important news. But is it getting 1.8 million views?
Absolutely not. It might get 5,000 views, maybe 10,000 if you are extremely lucky. So if you are that writer and you wake up on the first of the month knowing you are in a deficit of 1.8 million views, you cannot do the zoning board story. You physically cannot hit your quota doing real journalism.
So the economics act as a censor. They don't explicitly ban the truth. They just make the truth unaffordable to produce.
Correct. The quota forces journalism. You need speed, you need volume, and you need sensationalism. You need to publish 10, 12, 15 times a day. You have to take a press release, rewrite it in 15 minutes, slap a grabby headline on it, and hit publish. You are not a reporter anymore. You are a hamster on a wheel.
There's that quote from Michael Arrington, the founder of TechCrunch, that holiday cites. Getting it right is expensive. Getting it first is cheap.
It's the golden rule of the digital age. If you wait to verify, your competitor publishes the rumor first. They get the Google traffic, they get the scoop, they get the link on the Drudge Report or Reddit. You get absolutely nothing.
But hold on a second. If you rush and you publish a rumor and it turns out to be entirely wrong, doesn't that hurt you? I mean, surely reputation still matters somewhat.
You would think so. But this is where the system gets truly twisted. Being wrong is actually profitable.
How can being wrong be profitable? That seems totally counterintuitive.
It's the correction loop. Let's play this out. Let's say a blog sees a tweet that a famous actor has died. There's no official confirmation. It's just a rumor.
Okay, so I'm the blogger. I have 2 choices. Choice A, I call the actor's publicist, and I wait.
Right. And while you're on hold with the publicist for 30 minutes, TMZ and BuzzFeed and 5 other sites run the story. Rumor, actor X dead. They get millions of views. You get 0.
Okay, so I have to go with choice B. I run the rumor. Reports say actor X is dead.
Massive traffic. Everyone clicks. People are sharing it on Facebook, crying, posting rest in peace. You're making money hand over fist.
But then, an hour later, the actor tweets a photo of himself eating a sandwich. He's totally fine. I look like an idiot.
Do you? Or do you just have a brand new content opportunity? You don't delete the original post. You publish a new post. UP date. Actor X is actually alive. Internet hoax debunked.
And everyone clicks that too. Oh, thank God he's alive.
Exactly. You get traffic for the lie, and you get traffic for the truth. If you had waited to verify, you would have only published 1 story, the truth. Or maybe no story at all because the actor being safe at home isn't news. By publishing the rumor, you doubled your revenue.
That is genuinely diabolical. It creates this iterative journalism. Instead of filtering and then publishing, they publish and then filter. Rumors, buzz, questions. That becomes the content itself.
And we see this with the headline gap. You see this all the time. A headline that asks a provocative question like, is this famous politician resigning?
And you click it, and you read through 800 words, and the very last paragraph essentially says, well, we don't know, probably not.
But the impression is already sold. The transaction is complete. The headline makes a claim the article doesn't actually support, but the economics do not care about the text of the article. They only care about the click. The content is just the filler between the ads.
This leads to another concept that I found really disturbing because it explains why so much news feels like a giant game of telephone. The link economy and the delegation of trust. Holiday compares it to the subprime mortgage crisis.
It's a perfect analogy. Think back to 2008. In the subprime crisis, banks would create these complex financial products, these bundles of mortgages. Bank A would sell a bundle to Bank B. Bank B didn't check if the homeowners actually had jobs or income. They just assumed Bank A checked. Then Bank B sold it to Bank C.
Everyone just assumed the guy before them did the homework.
Right. And in media, it works exactly the same way via links. Blog A, maybe a tiny gossipy site with zero editorial standards, posts a rumor. We heard from an anonymous source that Company X is going bankrupt.
Then Blog B sees that. Blog B is slightly bigger, maybe a mid-tier tech site.
Blog B writes a post. Reports are circulating that Company X is bankrupt, and they link to Blog A as their primary source.
So Blog B didn't check the financial records. They just verified the Blog A said it.
Exactly. Their source isn't the fact. Their source is the link. Then a major outlet, let's say a cable news website or a major newspaper's blog, sees the buzz. They write, "Questions swirl around Company X's financial future." And they link to Blog B.
So by the time it reaches the reader at the major outlet, the reader who actually trusts that logo, it looks like a confirmed, vetted story. But actually, it's just a chain of people pointing at the person behind them.
It is a recursion loop. It is a delegation of trust where everyone assumes someone else did the back-checking, but in reality, no one did. The original fact might be a complete fabrication, but it has been laundered through the link economy until it looks like legitimate news.
Which brings us to the mechanism of how someone like Ryan Holiday exploits this. Because if you know the system works this way, if you know nobody checks the facts, they only check the links, you can game it. This is the how-to section of the deep dive. He calls it trading up the chain.
This is the primary exploit. If you understand the hierarchy of the media, you can manipulate it. It's like water, but it flows up.
Walk us through the hierarchy. How does a lie get from a nobody to the New York Times?
At the bottom, you have level 1. Low accountability blogs, citizen journalism sites, Twitter accounts, Reddit threads. These people are starting for content. They have zero budget, incredibly high quotas, and they are desperate to be noticed.
Right.
Then level 2 is the mid-tier blogs, the aggregators, HuffPost, Business Insider, the big tech blogs. They are looking for buzz. They monitor level 1 to see what's bubbling up.
Okay.
Then level 3 is major media, the New York Times, CNN, the major networks. They are looking for validation. They want to cover what people are already talking about.
So if you want to get a fake story into the New York Times, you do not email the New York Times.
Never. If you email the New York Times with a crazy tip, they have a standards editor. They will check it. They will kill it. You have to start at the bottom. You seed the story. Holiday explains that manipulators plant a story in a small, local, or niche blog first.
How does he do that? Does he just email the blogger?
Often, yes. Holiday admits to using fake emails all the time. He would pose as a concerned fan or an insider. He'd send a tip to a small blog saying, "Hey, did you hear about this? These bloggers are incredibly easy to fool." Or sometimes they know it's shady, but they just don't care because they are desperate for scoops. They need that traffic.
And once it's on the small blog, you rely on the lead steer effect.
Right. Holiday quotes Michael Citrick, a crisis PR expert, who said the media gallops in a herd. It takes just one steer to start a stampede.
So the small blog is the steer.
Yes. The mid-tier blogs see the story on the small blog. They don't check the facts. They just report that the small blog is reporting it. It creates chatter.
Legitimization.
And finally, completion. The major media picks it up because it has heat. Once the New York Times runs it, it becomes historical fact. The origin doesn't matter anymore.
The source material has an incredible, almost cinematic case study of this. The movie I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. This was based on the book by Tucker Max.
A very controversial figure. Tucker Max was known for these for-attire stories. Drinking, debauchery, not exactly high art.
Yeah. And Holiday had to market the movie version. But he had a massive problem. He had basically zero budget. And the movie itself, well, let's just say it wasn't going to win any Oscars. He couldn't rely on good reviews. He needed buzz. He needed a fight.
So he manufactured one. He used the trading up the chain method perfectly to create a controversy where absolutely none existed.
Tell us what he did, because when I read this, I actually felt a little sick. It's highly effective, but it's really dirty.
It started with vandalism. Holiday went out in Los Angeles late at night and vandalized his own billboard.
He vandalized his own marketing materials.
Yes. He spray painted them, defaced them with angry messages, and then he put on his mask. He sent fake tips and photos to local blogs from fake emails, acting like a concerned citizen or an outraged local. He'd say things like, "Look at what someone did to this offensive billboard. The community is fighting back."
So Level 1 picks it up. Billboards vandalized in LA due to offensive movie.
Right. It creates a little spark, but he needed a massive fire, so he escalated it. He went on Facebook and created fake boycott groups. He created pages calling for the movie to be banned.
Wait, he created the fan page and the anti-fan page.
Yes, he played both sides of the chessboard. He even paid for advertisements on feminist websites and Christian websites, ads for the movie that were deliberately designed to be as offensive as possible, just to provoke them into writing angry articles about the ads.
He was paying websites to hate him.
He was literally buying outrage, and it worked. The Chicago Red Eye covered the vandalism. Feminist groups, actual real people, saw the fake boycott groups and joined in. They started protesting for real. They were organizing pickets. They were writing op-eds. They were reacting to a completely fake stimulus.
That is the twist that really got me. The media was covering a movement against the movie. But the movement was a total hallucination created by the marketer. But because the media covered it.
The movement became real. This is the crucial point. Once the coverage started, real people saw it and said, "Hey, I should be angry about this too." The story traded up to national news. The outrage became the marketing campaign.
And the movie, which might have just flopped quietly because it wasn't very good, became a cultural flashpoint. People went to see it just to see what all the fuss was about.
And all it cost was the price of some spray paint and a few fake emails. This is the sheer power of the system. It doesn't care if the input is real or fake. It only cares if it generates heat.
Heat. That's the key word here. That brings us to section 3 of our dive, the tactics of distortion. We've talked about the economics, the engine, and we've talked about the mechanism, the gears. Now let's talk about the fuel. Why did the Tucker Max story work? Why didn't people just ignore it?
Because it made people angry. This brings us to the concept of emotional valence.
Unpack that for us.
In the attention economy, facts are boring. Reality is complicated, as the text says. Complexity simply doesn't spread. What spreads? High arousal emotions, anger, fear, humiliation, the "oh my God" moment, the "I can't believe he said that" moment.
So a man walking a dog and the dog is happy, that is low valence. Yeah. But a man kicks a dog, that is high valence.
Exactly. And Holiday writes that marketers and manipulators deliberately distort information to fit these specific triggers. If a story is nuanced, they strip the nuance to make it controversial. They flatten reality to make it fit into a viral container.
One of the darkest aspects of this, which the book explores in real detail, is weaponized humiliation.
The degradation ceremony.
It feels like the internet runs on this today, finding a villain for the day and just destroying them.
Yes. Blogs function as machines of mockery. The text mentions Gawker specifically, which is gone now, but was the absolute king of this style. Editors there admitted that resisting too good to be true viral stories would make their traffic crater.
Even if they suspected it wasn't actually true. Or even if they knew it was just mean-spirited and irrelevant.
It didn't matter. The economics of snark are simply too powerful. Tearing people down generates clicks. The system treats human beings not as people, but as content commodities. If destroying someone's reputation, posting a leaked sex tape, or mocking an awkward email gets 1 million clicks, the system is designed to destroy that reputation. There is zero incentive for mercy.
There's also the tactic of concern trolling and manufactured outrage. This is where the manipulators use our own virtues against us.
This is a very sophisticated one. It's pretending to be offended by something to generate a controversy, or asking questions that strongly imply a controversy where none actually exists.
The text mentions Pizzagate in this context. And for you listening, we don't need to get into the specific politics of it. We are not taking sides. But look at it systemically. How did that narrative build?
The systemic view of Pizzagate is fascinating. You had conspiracy theorists in the lower levels of the chain, level 1, asking paranoid questions repeatedly. Why is this word in this email? What does pizza mean? Is it a code? They just kept asking and asking.
It creates a huge volume of noise.
Right. And eventually, the mainstream media had to cover the controversy. They stepped in to say, we are debunking this. This is not true.
But by covering it,
By covering it, even to debunk it, they legitimize the questions. They expose millions of new people to the conspiracy who had never even heard of it before. They validate the lead steer. The algorithm sees the engagement on the debunking article and says, oh, people are interested in this topic, and then it serves up more of the conspiracy content.
there was another example of this fake outrage dynamic that Holiday was personally involved in regarding Iron Carmen and The Daily Show. Again, we're just looking at the mechanics here.
Yes, this is a classic example of trading up. Iron Carmen was a blogger at Jezebel at the time. She wrote a piece accusing The Daily Show, Jon Stewart's show, of sexism. She claimed there was a woman problem there, based on a specific hiring decision where they hired a man instead of a woman.
And Holiday points out that the facts were very shaky. The Daily Show actually had a great track record with female correspondents.
Extremely shaky. The data was cherry-picked. But the narrative, is Jon Stewart sexist, was perfect high-valence content. It triggered intense anger on both sides. Feminists were angry at Stewart. Fans were angry at Carmen.
And the traffic exploded.
It generated massive traffic for Jezebel. It got picked up by other outlets. Jon Stewart eventually had to address it on air. And here is the cynical analysis. It doesn't matter if the outrage was authentic or strategic. It doesn't matter if Carmen really believed it or if she was just trying to make a name for herself. The system monetizes the conflict equally.
The system is impartial to truth, but entirely partial to conflict.
Perfectly put. Conflict pays the bills. Agreement does not.
And then there's the technology itself, using the tools against the system. Holiday talks about using Wikipedia. Now, I love Wikipedia. I donate my $3 every year. But he describes it as a massive loophole.
It's the circular citation loop. Wikipedia requires reliable sources. You can't just write Ryan Holiday is the king of the moon. You need a citation.
Right.
So Holiday would plant a fake story on a blog, maybe a rumor about a client. Client X is launching a fashion line.
Okay. Level 1.
Then he would go to Wikipedia and edit the page of his client to include that lie, citing the blog post he just planted.
Okay, so now it's technically on Wikipedia.
Then a lazy journalist at a larger outlet level 2 or 3 is writing a profile on the client. They need background info. What do? They Google the client. They check Wikipedia.
Of course. Everyone does.
They see the fact client X is launching a fashion line and they see the citation. They assume it's true. They include it in their article in The Guardian or The New York Times.
And once it's in the larger article.
This is the checkmate. You go back to Wikipedia. You delete the link to the small blog. You replace it with the link to the Guardian article. Now the lie is officially locked in. It's backed by a major media institution. It has become truth.
That is terrifyingly simple. It's basically money laundering for information. You wash the dirty rumor through the system until it comes out totally clean.
And he also mentions buying influence directly, paying celebrities to tweet.
That's a stark example. He paid for a tweet that said, FACT, people will do anything for money. He literally paid a celebrity to tweet that to promote a book.
The irony is palpable. But it worked. It creates the illusion of a groundswell. If you see people talking about it, you assume it matters. This is the social proof bias in action.
So we have the machine, the economics, the mechanism, trading up, and the tactics, valence, and humiliation. Now let's look at the outcomes, Section 4. Because this isn't just about bad articles. This is about unreality itself.
Holiday uses the concept of the news funnel to visualize this. Imagine a funnel. At the very top, you have reality. All that happens, everything in the world. Level 2 is all that is known by media. Level 3 is all that is newsworthy, which, as we've learned, means sensational, conflict-driven, high valence. Level 4 is all that is published. And finally, level 5 is all that spreads.
And by the time you get to the bottom, what spreads, what actually reaches my eyeballs on my phone, you aren't looking at a summary of reality at all.
No, you are looking at a concentration of the most extreme conflict-driven anomalies. The bottom of the funnel is a profound distortion. It makes the world look far more violent, angry, and stupid than it actually is. If you only looked at the bottom of the funnel, you would think the world is ending every single day.
And this creates what he calls narcotizing dysfunction. That sounds like a serious medical condition.
It's a concept from sociology. It's mistaking knowing about something with actually doing something.
We feel this all the time. You read a headline, you get angry, you retweet it, maybe you leave a snarky comment, and you feel like you've participated in democracy. You feel like you fought the good fight.
But you haven't. You've just fed the ad engine. You are in a state of agitated apathy. You are emotionally exhausted. You are stressed. But you haven't actually changed anything in the real world. You are just generating data for the platform.
There's a Kierkegaard quote in the notes that hit me hard. Talkativeness is afraid of the silence which reveals its emptiness.
We fill the silence with content, but the content is totally empty. We are afraid to stop scrolling because then we'd have to face the quiet.
This blurring of reality really comes to a head with the story of the Rick Santelli rant. This was the rant on CNBC back in 2009 regarding the mortgage bailouts. It basically launched the Tea Party movement.
Right. Santelli went on a huge tirade on the floor of the Chicago Exchange.
Yeah.
It was visceral. It was angry. Why are we paying for our neighbor's mistake?
And Holiday asks, was it real or was it staged? Because PR people were apparently alerting the Drudge Report before it even happened.
And the answer is, it simply doesn't matter. It hit the perfect valence. It was anger for one side, the conservatives, and mockery for the other, the liberals. It generated engagement across the entire spectrum.
You've got the perfect product.
It was. And this leads us inevitably to the political implications. The text explicitly mentions Donald Trump. And again, for you listening, we're analyzing this not as politics, but as a media phenomenon. This book was actually written before his presidency, which makes it remarkably prophetic.
Holiday argues that Trump understood the system better than anyone. He understood that an incendiary, provocative, and unpredictable personality would be traffic and attention gold.
He was the ultimate lead steer. Every tweet was a press release. Every insult was a headline.
The media had to cover him. The economics demanded it. There is that famous quote from the CEO of CBS, Les Moonves, during the 2016 election.
It may not be good for America, but it's damn good for CBS.
That is the confession right there. That is the smoking gun.
It is. It reveals the complete misalignment between the media's financial interests and the public's interest. The system aligned to promote chaos because chaos is highly profitable. Peace is boring. Competence is boring. Chaos sells ads.
So we arrive at Section 5. The crisis in perception. We've looked at the gears. We know exactly how the trick is done. So why hasn't it changed? If we all know this, why does it keep happening?
Because the incentives are perfectly aligned for everyone involved. This is the systems analysis part of our deep dive. Platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Google, they get time on site and data. Publishers like BuzzFeed, CNN, The New York Times, they get ad revenue and basic survival. Advertisers get scale and impressions. And the audiences, we get entertainment and emotional validation.
We get our dopamine hits. We get to feel righteous anger.
We do. It is a racket. As Holiday quotes in the preface, a racket is something that is not what it seems, operated by a few at the expense of the rest of us.
And the scariest part is that the monster eventually feeds itself.
Holiday admits this openly. He realized eventually that the system didn't even need manipulators like him anymore. The feedback loops are so perfectly tuned to outrage that innocent misunderstandings or internal sparks set off massive conflagrations without any mastermind pulling the strings.
It's a perpetual motion machine of anger. It doesn't even need a pilot.
It really doesn't.
So I have to ask the question that is central to this entire project. What is the crisis in perception here?
That is the ultimate question. And if we synthesize everything we've discussed, the economics, the trading up the chain, the emotional valence, the psychology, the answer is this. The crisis is not just that we are being lied to. The crisis is the collective belief that misinformation spreads because of individual flaws. We think it's because people are irrational or stupid or malicious.
We blame the players. We yell at the other side.
We constantly blame the players. But the reality is the cause is an incentive architecture optimized for engagement velocity. Truth is secondary to velocity. Perception itself has become a commodity. We are fundamentally misreading a structural economic problem as a moral one. As long as the money comes from speed and clicks, the result will always be distortion.
That is really heavy. But it feels like the necessary shift in perspective. If we stop asking, why is this person lying, and start asking, how does the system reward this lie, everything makes a lot more sense.
Exactly. It clears the fog, you stop hating the player, and you finally start seeing the game.
So how do we wrap this up? The text mentions the one-off problem again in the conclusion.
It's the final structural takeaway. As long as news must sell itself article by article, it will be distorted. If you want quality, you have to change the incentive. You have to move away from the one-off transaction. You have to support models that prioritize long-term trust over instant speed.
And there's a final thought from the text that I think should haunt us a little bit. You cannot have your news instantly and have it done well.
It's a trade-off we have stubbornly refused to accept. We want it right now, and we want it to be perfectly true. But the system says you have to choose one.
Well, on that note, we have reached the end of this deep dive. But really, it's just the beginning of seeing the world through this lens. I'm going to leave you all with a final provocative thought to explore on your own. If the media economy fundamentally distorts reality to harvest our attention, what happens when artificial intelligence is used to generate that high-valence content at a million times the current speed? How do we verify reality when the cost of producing fake outrage drops literally to zero? Crisis in Perception examines how systems shape belief and how better tools help us see clearly. This project is free and publicly accessible. If you'd like to support the time, tools, and research behind Crisis in Perception, you can become a supporter on Patreon. For a shorter, visual overview of this topic, see the mini explainer linked in the description. If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.